Hello and welcome back to the Mikoncast, episode 43. I'm here, a solo episode after I don't know how long, but I would love to do. I had the thought, I'd love to do a solo episode again. I just feel like talking about things. And you know what? Sometimes all I got is yourself. That's how it should be, though, you know? It helps increase podcasting skills, you know? Trying to learn how to talk more fluently, how to have less pauses between sentences, no filler words like all the time. We're here. It is December 29th of 2022, almost at the end of the year. You know, I really don't care about like, oh, it's a new year. I have my it's like no. It's just my concept of time has become just less it's a lot less important to me, you know? Like my birthday, for example. You know, I mean, sure, I'll also celebrate it, you know? I feel like everyone should have a day kind of about themselves for one day a year. I feel like that's just like a cool thing in general. But, you know, I don't care that much. You know, it's just a calendar day. It doesn't really mean anything, I guess, to me that much anymore. So, the fact that it's a new year, new me, I mean, props to anyone who, you know, is gonna better themselves. But I guess what I mean is, it's just same shit as always, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing, you know. There's kind of a bit of a relieving part of not caring that much. That's kind of what it was like this past Christmas, you know. I know Christmas changes as you get older, and I wasn't entirely ready for, you know, the past couple years have been a little iffy, but this year was the most dissociated I've ever been from Christmas. I just didn't feel it once. I didn't listen to any Christmas music. Not that I was ever big into that before, but I didn't even listen to Sia's Christmas album. I didn't even play Arkham Origins on Christmas Eve because that's when the game takes place. That was a tradition I was trying to do. I just didn't feel it. You know, it wasn't a bad time. You know, I didn't have a bad Christmas. You know, for sure. Right. You know, got some cool gifts. I'm grateful for. I'm glad to give people a gift. It's good to be around family. You know, it's not like I hate it. It's just not very eventful. I just don't feel the spirit. Maybe it was depression, because I'll be real. I've been depressed as fuck lately. These past few months or so. But I'm doing okay. I'm working through it, you know. Taking the steps to get out of it. It's not permanent, I know that much. I'm doing okay. You know, and I'll be honest, it's stopped me from making context. I'm like, man, you're sitting here depressed when you could be putting out podcasts or doing streams. So here I am. I'm here to make content consistently. I'm still working on it. You know, it hasn't been consistent in a while. I'm on the battle of taking several months out because I'm just too depressed and unmotivated to do anything, and then having that week of motivation where I put out, you know, 2 podcasts and I do a few streams, then I just stop. It's a battle, but I'm here fighting it once again. What's going on in the world, man? You know, I could get into some more personal stuff. I feel like later on. I feel like that's important, but what I want to talk about right off the bat, because this is something that's kind of fascinating. Andrew Tate versus Greta Thunberg. Bro, I don't even know what the hell to say about this. Look, climate activist Greta Thunberg, a legend. I mean, of course. For some reason, the conservative side of politics, they have this obsession with shitting on her because, for some reason, and one of their big points is they're very anti climate change. You know, a lot of they just don't seem to believe in it. I guess now why I don't know. I mean, they're just complete dumbasses in general. So, I guess I get it. I mean, it makes sense in a way, but I just don't get the point. Like, where did where did this become a thing? And since Andrew Tate is obviously, you know, he might claim otherwise. I don't know if he's claimed his political thing, but he's obviously completely with the conservative right side. I mean, just completely. That's not without a doubt. So yeah, Greta Thunberg, a 19-year-old climate activist. I mean, Jesus, I don't know what people expect. Like, oh, she doesn't do anything. It's like, yeah, she does. She's kind of spreading awareness, and I'm not too deep into her. Sure, I might not be able to pinpoint everything she's done, but I mean, what can a 19-year-old done? She spoke, and I'm sure I'm not going to speak too out of pocket here, but any kind of climate activism is necessary because I think that's like the main issue society needs to be tackling, because it's what realistically, man. I'm usually an optimist, but with how it's going right now, I feel like in my lifetime, Earth is just gonna die. I feel like it may be more towards the later half of my life, but I really don't see a good future considering the fact that our world leaders still obviously don't value or care about climate change that much, and quite frankly, it's upsetting. It's very upsetting because this is our fucking future. There are still people having kids right now. It's gonna be bad for me. It's gonna be even worse for for newborns right now. That makes me incredibly sad. Joe Biden, I believe he has some kind of climate plan, supposedly, but I don't know. I just don't see. I don't see a good future. But anyways, my point is, Andrew Tate, he made a tweet just a couple of days ago saying, "Hello, at Greta Thunberg. I have 33 cars. My Bugatti has a W16.8 quad turbo fucking car. I'm not really a car guy. My two Ferrari 812s has 6.5L V12s. I don't know what that means. Obviously, that's good. This is just a start. Please provide your email address so I can send a complete list of my car collection and their respective enormous emissions." So that's what's really confusing about me. I don't understand when bragging about carbon emissions became cool. I guess maybe just because of the sheer fact that leftists and progressives and activists are obviously calling for climate change action. I guess they just want to be contrarians in some ways. I don't even see an argument for not that their arguments about their stances of other social and world issues make sense, but they don't even have one for this. It's just it's incomprehensible for me, right? So he made that tweet. So he made the tweet, trying to start beef with a 19-year-old for okay, amazing. And then Greta Thunberg did respond, saying, "Yes, please do enlighten me. Email me at smalltickenergy@getalife.com." And the ratio is just devastating. What? Taint's tweet got, 192,000 likes. That's a lot of likes. Greta Thunberg got 2.8 million. So ratio of the year, quite frankly, a very late entry, but I think a clear winner. I have a few thoughts. On one hand, it's great to see him, get owned in ratio like this. Sure, it's just on Twitter. Maybe it doesn't do a lot, but it's just any kind of clowning on that this guy can get on a scale like that. It's good to see. Because fuck Andrew Tate, and if you like him, you're kind of a bad person. I know it's kind of weird to make that judgment call, but it's just kind of true, and it says a lot about you. But it's amazing to see him get owned. But on the other hand, it does suck to see him get attention, because ultimately I think that's what he wants. Actually, in fact, I know he responded to her tweet with a Twitter video. I watched it once. It was just him. He tried to flip the joke on her by saying, like, "Why would you say that you have small dick energy? That doesn't make any, like, why would you say that about yourself?" I don't know. It was a really dumb and just kind of sad attempt to flip it and try and be like a clever smart ass. Whatever. I mean, it's obvious what the joke is. That's okay. And I believe he said something about like people are just gonna be talking about him now. So I think it was kind of bait. So again, it's good to see him get owned, but this guy just needs to stop being talked about, because the sooner people stop talking about him, the sooner he'll just fade into obscurity further and further. So, it's a mixed issue, but he got ratioed, so I guess there's a plus in that. But I don't even need to explain the patheticness of being like a 40-year-old man, just about, right? He's in his mid-40s or some shit. I don't know. Who cares? But it's so obvious that beefing with someone who's only 19 that's just, again, I don't need to describe that. And even if he's doing it for attention, even if whether he's genuine or not, it's pathetic regardless, because say he's doing it just to get people to talking about him. He doesn't really care about Greta Thunberg. It's still he's still doing that and spending his time and energy with that. Regardless, it's a pathetic way to spend your time. I mean, God, man. I don't know. I don't think anything's gonna really come of it. That's probably gonna be the extent of it. He'll probably keep mentioning her, because it was an acknowledgement for him, and that's all he'll cling on to. But it's just hilariously sad, because I think at this point, he's been on the rise, for a minute, and he has to do everything to maintain it, I guess. He wants to make sure that he doesn't fade into obscurity eventually, which I hope will happen. I mean, what, Alex Jones, he's kind of, I mean, he still has a fan base, but he used to be a lot more popular. Now he's significantly less talked about. And I'm hoping the same will continue to happen to Andrew Tate. I hope, hopefully it's a matter of time, because I mean, his whole shtick, it's just a gimmick. I used to be a fan of Your Mom's House. I mean, I still kind of am, but I don't know. Half the shit they say nowadays, it's just I can't stand a lot of their stuff now. But whatever, I'm still a fan. Somewhat. They were one of the first people to discover Tate and really kind of get him popularized. And it was clear that they didn't endorse what he said, but he was clearly more of just like a character, or at least significantly playing up, who he actually is. And some of the shit he would say on the podcast, he went on their podcast before he got the severe amount of attention he has now, and he was saying shit like he was yelling at some of the employees to bring him cups of coffee, obviously a joke. So it's clear that he sprinkles in fake shit with how he actually feels. Not that exonerates him in any way, because clearly a lot of people don't know that and think he's genuine and endorse his beliefs. So regardless, whether he's like that or whether he's just playing it up, it doesn't make it any better. He's still a piece of shit for actively spreading this, and he probably does believe it. I mean, ultimately, he's being investigated for sex trafficking, after all, I believe. That is an ongoing investigation, so I'll just look into that if you're curious. And I remember he said that the best age to date a girl, according to him, were 18 to 20-year-olds, because they haven't been corrupted by other men. It's a paraphrase, but you can look that up. He definitely said that. And Greta Thunberg she's only 19. She's going to be 20 soon, and he referred to her in the video as a child of some kind. So, I mean, just judging by his own logic, I guess he likes little girls. I mean, look, I'm literally just saying what he said. He said he likes 18 to 20-year-olds, and I'm just saying. I'm not accusing him of anything, but that's crazy, isn't it? Oh man, what else can I say? It's just so sad. Remember he debated Hassan on Aiden Ross's stream. He got kind of destroyed, and he played it off. Remember he's mentioned Hassan's name a few times in interviews. Clearly, people get to him. It's kind of so obvious to tell when someone was obviously kind of felt personally attacked. You can tell they try to ham it up by just joking about it. But come on, I mean, Tate and all of his fans. I mean, they're clearly just severely insecure. Do I even need to go into an Andrew Tate rant? I'm sure I've done it before. My guy got ratioed. Couldn't handle it. And Greta Thunberg, I hope, doesn't acknowledge him again. She's done what she's needed to do. That's it. So, 2023, I'm praying for the downfall of Tate. I hope he loses all of his fans. Yeah, he deserves it, quite frankly. And some people that might, that's not a cruel thing to say. I mean, come on. There are very few people who I will gladly enjoy the downfall of. Tate's one of them, and Elon Musk is also one of them, which seems to be happening, which is wonderful to see. He recently he got booed. I mean, his whole Twitter thing has been going terribly for him. I think he's going to step down as the CEO because he put out a poll. Most of the people voted yes; they wanted him gone. But before that, ramping up to this, he was brought out on stage by Dave Chappelle at a show, and he was booed. He was absolutely booed by a lot of the crowd, which kind of surprised me, to be honest with you. Because at this point, Dave Chappelle's audience is, I'd say, I mean, at least mostly right wing at this point. I mean, at this point, pre his Sticks and Stones and the Closer specials, his last two specials. I mean, I have no idea what the statistics were, but I was definitely a big fan of him before he went into his transphobia and then doubled down and insisted on it, right? Because I loved his specials pre Sticks and Stones. I mean, he's a wonderful comedian. That's not up for debate. But now he's just shit. I'm sorry. He's just a bitter old man at this point who was obsessed with shitting on trans people, and Sticks and Stones. I remember that special. I remember it had, besides all the transphobic shit, I remember it had some. I thought it was decent, right? Especially my first watch, I didn't really realize at that time, but going back, it's like, oh yeah, a lot of this shit is just bad and not even really funny. And the Closer, I mean, I was already not really a fan of him anymore at that point, but I was curious to see what he had to say. And I swear, it wasn't even like a comedy special from what I remember. I mean, sure, there are some jokes, but it was really just like a social commentary. I mean, and that's what he does. He does social commentary, but this was just like a fucking TED Talk. There wasn't even. It's way different than even Sticks and Stones. So, I was kind of surprised to see everyone booing Elon. I thought the right wing, they were all sims for Elon, but even he's starting to piss them off with everything he's doing, which. I'm glad they're conservatives. The right. I'm glad they're realizing how giant piece of a shit Elon is too. I mean, he's just a big whiny baby. He had to go on Twitter and justify, be like, actually, 90% of them were cheering, 10% were just the boos when it was quiet. It's actually it's okay. People like me. People love me. Don't worry. Right. He I mean, his ego obviously is very not intact. But I mean, bro, with all that money, come on, how can you let people get to you like this? You can do anything you want. Why are you on the internet trying to justify people's, people's opinion of you? If I had that kind of money, I would not be a public figure. You know that I'd be outgoing to. Shit, I don't know. I'd be traveling the world. That's all I know. Um, but his downfall is bringing me a little bit to hope to see, because I mean, he's just the biggest crybaby. All the changes on Twitter can. I mean, there's been a couple weird changes. Like, for example, you can no longer see what people tweet from. You used to be able to see, oh, this person tweeted from an iPhone. This person tweeted from their Android. Now that feature is just straight up gone now. And I guess this isn't confirmation, but people seem to track it back to a tweet where, like, a series of tweets where Elon was criticizing Apple for some reason. I guess he was mad at Apple. He was mad at Tim Apple, you might say. And someone made a tweet being like, I love how Elon is giving this meltdown about Apple from his iPhone, because you could see. And then that feature mysteriously ended up disappearing. The Twitter blue, that's just that's just dumb as hell. God, I wasn't even prepared to really talk about Elon, but his downfall is going to be a good sight to see. I'm glad he banned Kanye for fucking posting a swastika mixed with the Star of David. I'm glad he's gone on Twitter forever now, but that's kind of the bare minimum. I don't even want to get into Elon. He's just a little crybaby who wants validation, and a lot of people don't like him, and he's not taking it well. It's just like, bro, come on. Like, enough people like you. Come on. It's so funny. Oh God, I had to pause. I can't remember the last thing I said exactly, but Kanye though. I mean. Shit, or Ye. Sorry. I'm not gonna dead name Kanye like that, or Ye. But I never touched on all his Infowars. I mean, what's there to say? I'm not gonna go over what he said. He said he loves Hitler and he loves the Nazis and he wants to stop dissing the Nazis. I mean, fuck him forever. There's absolutely no coming back from this. Fuck Kanye West. And it hurts to say, man. God, for years I got into him. What, 2015? I was just like a fucking 13-year-old. I was like, oh my God, this Kanye, like, this is like the best shit I've ever heard. I mean, his music helped me so much through all my years of high school. I listened to him every goddamn day. I'd watch his interviews. I was definitely one of those Kanye is a genius people. And sure, musically, he is. I mean, not even anymore. I'll be honest. Dondo, it's an okay album. I don't go back to it. But man, I really fucking loved the guy. I really did. Actually, I think I did talk about it last time. I know I talked about it the last podcast. I don't know if the Infowars shit already happened, but I'm not gonna go on to it. I've already talked about him before. A couple times. He loves Hitler. Even Alex Jones, of all people, was cringing and kind of like, whoa, kind of telling him to. He was kind of taken aback by what he was saying. Just really funny if Alex Jones is doing that. But God, so apparently I saw something that his ex business partner or some kind of manager, he's been trying to find Kanye to locate him to sue him, which is kind of funny. But apparently he hasn't been able to locate him. I don't know if he's definitely, I don't know. I haven't seen anything on him in a while, so I think he's taking a break from the public eye, hopefully forever. A lot of people were theorizing or saying that this whole thing was gonna end up. It was just gonna keep ramping up because Kanye doesn't know. He clearly didn't know when to draw a line. People were thinking that it might end in suicide, which I could see happening. I don't want him to kill himself. I just want him to maybe one day see that he was wrong, but I still really don't want to hear from him ever again at this point. Like, if he wants to silently correct his, try and fix his beliefs, and I don't know. I just don't want to ever hear from him again. I mean, the damage he's done, I don't think it's really reversible. He's done. He's absolutely. I mean, I'm not Jewish, so I can't imagine what how Jewish people feel about these fucking attacks on them. But if that's the case and we never hear from him again, I'm not going to be upset about it. At the end of the day, it's sad, but what are you going to do? Speaking of music, though, I've been listening to some it's pretty good shit usually. I was watching one of my old podcasts earlier because I like to do that occasionally because I forget about half the shit I say. So it's nice to go back and just kind of get my mindset and way of thinking, even just like a year ago. It's just interesting. And yeah, I always talk about music and projects I'm listening to. Not necessarily brand new, just albums I've heard for the first time. And I've heard some pretty good stuff lately, man. Rap and non-rap, because that's for a long time I only listened to hip hop. I mean, let's see, just a quick evolution of my music journey. I never really got into music that much. I mean, growing up, I would listen to Foo Fighters, a few Guns N' Roses songs, just kind of shit that I heard around me. Then middle school, like kind of early middle school, mid middle school, I got into when I actually started like listening to like music a lot of my own. I got in just kind of a lot of shit I grew up around, listening to some Guns N' Roses, some Foo Fighters, just a lot of rock, mainstream bands, yeah, but definitely just a lot of rock. And then I remember specifically what kind of really got me into hip hop. I was never like against it. I just never really gotten into it very much. I mean, there were like maybe like 2 or 3 Eminem songs, that I would hear on the radio that I didn't mind, or I just heard them a lot and I was fine with them. I never had much of an opinion, but let's see. I remember it was a school bus. There were I was sitting in the back with where all the cool kids go. I had this friend named Gabe. Shout out Gabe. He had a speaker, and him and some of the other kids they were blasting No Type by Ray Shremmerd. And I remember him. I didn't know the song. I didn't know the words, and like everyone around me was rapping like word for word. And I remember Gabe being like, bro, you have to, you need to learn this song, man. So I'm like, okay. I didn't hate it, So I remember I listened to it several times, and I learned like pretty much all the lyrics, and that was my gateway song. I never really got into Ray Shremmerd further, but I don't know. It was funny, I didn't mind it. And then from then on, I remember I listened to a couple of Kanye songs that popped up on my YouTube recommended, because I'd heard the name a couple times. Obviously, I knew who he was. I knew a friend that liked a couple of songs. I'm like, okay, Kanye, let me give that a shot. Then yeah, I ended up liking it. It was like, I mean, I've heard like Gold Digger and Stronger and whatnot growing up on the radio here and there, but like I think I the first few songs I listened to on my own was like probably like Bound 2 was one of the first songs I found, which is funny. And maybe Power. I don't know. A couple bigger songs. And yeah, then I got into that. Then I started listening to the Eminem songs that I knew, because I'm like, I know who he is. I'll listen to those songs. And I got into more of Kanye, and then yeah, and then just spiraled into a bunch of artists. And then it was only up until like 2019 where I started finally like diversifying Started listening like to pop and indie type shit, some experimental, some, you know. Now at this point, my music taste, I'd say like it's pretty like it's like 50% hip hop and just 50% everything else, really. I hip hop is still my favorite genre. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, I, I'm always gonna love hip hop. That's always just gonna be my absolute favorite. But yeah, man. I'm still at the start too. There's still just heaps of genres and artists that I still have to, catalog and get down. God, there's so much. I'm never gonna get to it all. That's kind of what sucks about it. So let's see. Let me open up my notepad. What's one of the more interesting albums I've listened to recently? Well, I listened to "You Can't Kill Me" by 070 Shake. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I mean, I think just 070. That's how I've always said it, at least in my head. I'm sure there are different ways. I first heard her through her songs with Kanye on Ye. There was Ghost Town, which is, it's been hard for me to listen to Kanye's music too. I understand separate the art from the artist, and generally, I'm it's like I'm never gonna listen to him again, but for a minute now, it's just been harder to listen to him. It's probably gonna be that way for a while, but I'll still bump Ghost Town any day. That's one of his best songs, and that's how I'd first heard of her. And then I know she released her first studio album a couple of years ago. I haven't really gone back to that except for Guilty Conscience, which I have a bad habit with albums where even if I like the sound, just because like I'm not familiar, I always like to listen to music that I know. And it always takes me a minute to memorize lyrics and shit. And I don't know, I just don't go back to some albums sometimes, but I always plan to. But I haven't gone back to that one in time, but I saw that she was kind of with a new album this year, and I really do like her sound. And I've been listening to this one a lot. You Can't Kill Me. Mainly just like the first half, because again, I have that problem where I just have a hard time like revisiting initially until I really learn the lyrics. But yeah, man, it's good. It's very it's Mike Dean is producing a lot of it, and he's I don't know much about his production. It's hard for me to describe music production style very well. That's what I want to get better at, but it's very synth heavy. It's electronic. And usually when I hear the word electronic to describe music, I have like a negative connotation because my mind goes to EDM or just some corny shit you would hear in a club. Now, I'm not dissing anyone's taste, of course. I'm just speaking from a personal point. Like EDM, that kind of, I know I like electronic, but it has to be like in like a specific fashion, I suppose. But I don't know, like it just sounds very, very dreamy, if that makes any sense. Very astral plane ascending sounding. Especially with the vocal effects she uses. I mean, like the opening track Web. God, you know that SpongeBob meme where he has the headphones and he's just like ascending into the air. That's just the vibe I get from that song, and kind of her that's just kind of her vibe in general. Pretty much any song of hers. It's kind of like a Kid Cudi hum. You hear it and you just start floating and ascending. But God, it's just such a unique and beautiful sound, perfect for late night drives. That's kind of my favorite genre of music right now. Music that's perfect for nighttime driving, to just kind of float and ascend. It's a very good escape from reality. It's probably my favorite way to escape from reality now that I've my own car and shit. It's very nice, especially when you're alone. Come on. So yeah, I'm loving that album. No Thank You by Little Sims. Little Sims is she's been on the rise for a minute now. She is a British rapper, and she is very British. Like, I don't know. I've never heard such a British voice or like rapping. Like, oh my god. And that's fine. I know a lot of people. There's a lot of British people slander that goes around on the internet, but I love British people. Okay, I'm standing here tall and proud to say I love British people most of the time. look, I know a lot of British people themselves don't associate with the whole royal family, because God, fuck the royal family. That shit's just a giant fucking shit fest and clown show. They're all. I don't know. Prince Andrew knew Epstein. I don't know. I don't trust that fucking any of them. Fuck all that. But yeah, shout out British people. So I can go on a tangent so easily. So yeah, Little Sims, she dropped an album a couple years ago called "Sometimes I Might Be Introvert," and I listened to it, and I've listened to it like a few times. I really need to go back and listen to that. It didn't grasp me like the first couple of listens the way it did for some people, but when I see the high praise it's getting, I can see why. It's a very it's a very grand. Um, it's hard to. It's very similar to Kendrick, and she's listed Kendrick as her inspiration, which makes a lot of sense. You know, she has very just complete and grand sounding albums. You know, it's the word album is very fitting. It's a lot more of like a collective art piece rather than just a bunch of freestyles and verses just kind of thrown together with no real purpose or topic. You know, she has very consistent themes in terms of sound and lyrical content that make it into like, I guess, kind of like a movie of sorts. You know, a lot of people relate Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly" as like an auditory movie. You know, it's kind of like a story. And Little Sims is similar to that for sure. And she announced that she is dropping. No, sometimes I might be an introvert. That was 21, right? 2021. Let me confirm on that. Yeah, it was last year. I said a couple. Yeah, I knew it was either 2020 or just last year. But yeah, she dropped a new album called "No Thank You" just a few weeks ago. Very late in the year. A very late entry for a lot of people's, top rap albums of the year. 10 songs, 49 minutes. A lot of songs are at least like 4 or 5 minutes, which I definitely like that. You know, damn, she is a really good rapper. I need to listen to her some of her previous projects, like The Gray Area. I remember hearing some hype about that one. God, man, the way I listen to music is so weird. Like, all of artists and projects that I plan on listening to on the back burner, like, for so long before I even get to them. I'm just, God, so weird with how I listen to music. Like, oh my God. But regardless, it's very good. So a lot of the themes on Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, our previous album, were a lot with trauma, family trauma, a lot of family issues in confronting, a lot of her own issues with her family and her trauma. And this album, it definitely continues in that theme a little bit. The way she like encapsulates her personal struggles, it's very, God, it's very good. I know. I'm trying to be like Anthony Fantano and really use my dictionary here to really describe the music, but that's something I would have to write in a full review about, I suppose. But it's very easy to relate to what she's saying. For example, like she has these few bars about on the song "Broke" and like about like you're smoking weed by yourself and you're isolated and you start questioning if you're good enough and all these self talks and self doubts, and I don't know, it's something she just describes really well and I can really relate to in some ways. Yeah, but she is relentless, like with her rapping. I'm really glad that people are giving her such high praise. I'm kind of surprised to see it. I mean, it's good. It's just glad to see it in art, because I'm used to, a lot of artists don't seem to get the props that I think they deserve, and it's really cool and satisfying to see someone really get the praise they most definitely deserve, because I feel like a lot of artists are just either overrated or underrated, in my personal opinion. but it's wonderful, man. I really recommend it. It's definitely a lot more on the storytelling. It's definitely something you don't want to listen to on shuffle. I know, like, a lot of albums you generally don't want to, but there are some rap albums where it's a lot easier to do that. Like a lot of like Griselda projects, you can listen to those on shuffle, for example. But this is something you kind of want to follow. Very wonderful. I need to listen to it more in order to talk about it, because I didn't do a rap album of the year video on my second channel last year, so I would love to do that again, because I definitely have a few contenders. So I need to get on that ASAP, because the end of the year is coming up. That video probably won't likely happen until like the first week or so of 2021, or 2023, but that's okay. Now there's another project I really want to talk about is, forgive me, my dog was aggressively barking. I paused the recording, but I wonder if OBS just didn't pick up on that. You might have heard me yelling at my dog. Man, it's just whenever there's someone on the street, I don't know. She like compulsively barks. She's like, I tell her to stop, and then she picks up like a stuffed toy, and she kind of like she's like a muffled bark, and I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty sure her breed is meant to be a guard dog. I mean, she's not properly trained to be a guard dog, so I guess we didn't know. But regardless, so let's see. The next project I really want to talk about is, dude, Kiss the Ring by Rome Streetz. Rome Streetz is a rapper that I was completely unfamiliar with until, well, actually, I'd seen his name a couple of times last year, because I know Westside Gunn had him on his Fly God is an Awesome God too. So like, I've seen the name a couple of times, and I've heard him once or twice, but I never really gave him much thought or attention. Just I don't know. Sometimes I'm just satisfied with the rappers I'm into. I don't need to keep adding artists to my list. But he recently, I guess he's recently, over the past couple of years, he's become a Griselda associate. Griselda, at its core, at least when they first started blowing up, it was just Westside Gunn, Conway, and Benny, right? I mean, they had a couple of other people like El Camino, I think, but the main people for a long while were just those three, right? I mean, they have a whole album together, but Griselda has expanded over the past few years. They now have Boldy James signed to them, Stove God Cooks, Armani Caesar. Like, they're definitely growing up the roster, and similar to Wu-Tang, while some people aren't like full-on members, they're heavily associated or becoming associated with them. And Rome Streetz is now becoming a Griselda affiliated rapper, and because they have very, very similar rapping styles, of course. So he put out Kiss the Ring. It's a project executively produced by Westside Gunn. Now, bro, Westside Gunn, like, executive produced projects have shown to be amazing. Like Armani Caesar, she's been rapping for a while, but she's been rapping on Griselda for only a few years now, at least publicly, right? And her first album, The Liz, in 2020, it was definitely a good album. It definitely showed her potential, but it wasn't anything just like super groundbreaking, but the potential was 100% there. And this year, a few months ago, she released the sequel, The Liz 2, and that was entirely executively produced by Gunn, which means he's probably picking. He doesn't make the beats, but I'm he's picking a lot of the beats. He's curating, feature artists and whatnot, and he's a very good song curator. Some people like to say he's a bit weaker on the lyrical side, or maybe on the rapping side. Which, I guess compared to Conway and Benny, I'd say they're definitely better rappers. But for me, Gunn has the most re-listenable and replayable music. Like, he's more of a curator than he's a great rapper, but he shines in his curation of songs also. You know what I mean? He's kind of like what DJ Khaled thinks he is. And that's not a huge diss to Khaled, but that's just kind of A fact. So yeah, so when I learned it was executively produced, by Gunn, and I've been seeing a ton of people praise it, saying it's like the best rap album, one of the best. I'm like, all right, I have to get this to listen. It features all the Griselda members except Stove God is signed on, right? I hope I'm not wrong about that. I'm very confident I'm not. And I don't think Rome Streets is signed to Griselda. I don't keep up with everything. I'm not on the internet as much as I used to be. I get news here and there, but I don't believe he's signed. But yeah, so the project has every artist featured except Stove God. Oh wait, that's such a fucking lie. Stove God's on a song with Benny. I'm sorry. I was just thinking because most of the members they have their feature on individual different songs except for Stove and Benny. But I don't know why I said that. But yeah, so the cover art it's just him. I'm smiling with a middle finger up with his ring on, obviously, hence the title. A lot of beats from Conductor Williams, which God, I am so glad that I was introduced to him through Griselda. His his producer tagline is already very iconic with fans of him. Conductor, we have a problem. It's just, and it's featured very heavily across the album. He's not afraid to let people know who's producing. And man, dude, God, the production is flawless. Like right off, like the album gets right into it with Big Steppa. I mean, it's just such a Griselda beat, and it's a style that for me just, God, it just isn't getting old. I would love to see Rome Streets on some Alchemist production. There might be a couple songs where he is. I haven't heard everything of Rome Streets, so I'm sure there's a song he's been featured on at least. Because I'm a fan. I can't listen to everything. I can't keep everything memorized. I don't know who produces every single track, but there are a lot of other Griselda associated producers. Conductor's one of them. There's what's his name, Danny. Let me go find a track he's on. Make sure I'm not. It's Danny something. He's also very good. It's a lot of him and Conductor. Yeah, Danny LaFleur. So I think it's like all him and Conductor. Every track I've checked to see who produced it. It's either been Conductor or Danny LaFleur, similar to the list too. But yeah, it's just a very, very, very Griselda-esque album. Obviously, and it really doesn't get old. Oh shit. Rome Street, his rapping style, it's very unique. I guess like in the way that maybe this is a way I've heard this as a way to describe what's it called, like drill music, and I definitely agree with it. It's someone like attacking the beat, like aggressively attacking the beat, and it sounds good. And I would equate that a little bit to Rome Street style. His flow. I mean, it's not. It's kind of similar sounding. Like he definitely doesn't take a lot of pauses. If that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I didn't take notes on it, but which that would have helped me better. But yeah, it's he's very aggressive and relentless. Yeah, he has a lot of really good punchlines, and I don't know. He just really rides over these beats like Destiny Child. I love his presence on that one. I like his choruses too. They're very casual, and like his verses, they just go like right into them, and they're very simple choruses. It's just like a little hook, but that's not really his focus. Or choruses really. I don't know. It's hard to describe than I thought it would be, but I don't know. All I can say is that it goes very hard. Regardless, I'll go more into that in my album of the year contender, because I'll say it, that's definitely a contender. Is Rome Street's "Kiss the Ring." Boldy. Oh, Boldy. Did I mention Boldy? I had to mention Boldy earlier. He's also signed to Griselda. How did I miss that? He was one of the first artists outside of, you know, Conway and Benny to be on there. That's crazy. Man, yeah, I wish I had more to say right now, but God, Rome Street's "Kiss the Ring," wonderful. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, I've been fascinated by a lot of underground rappers, just because it's just a lot of styles and things I haven't heard them before. Like pre Griselda, I hadn't heard many hip hop songs like that, with the heavy soul sampling, like the piano is just the very grimy sounding beats. I never heard anything really like that at that point. So that was very new for me. That's kind of what really got me into kind of and not that I was fading out of hip hop, but that really reignited my love for the music, because it was just, I was like, I didn't know music like this really existed, or just rather I hadn't gotten to it. But and that translates well into the specific rapper I've been getting into, named Billy Woods. I've heard his name here and there, and I know he's very popular, like in the underground scene. Like a lot of people I've seen refer to him as top 5 of all time, not just underground, just he's straight up one of the best rappers of all time. And of course, you don't need talent, or you don't need talent. Of course, you don't need a bunch of mainstream recognition or a huge platform to be good. What you need is talent. That's what I was trying to say. That's all that ultimately matters. But I don't know. I was always curious, and recently I listened to, because I know he's part of a duo called Arm & Hammer with another rapper named Elucid, and they released a project recently called Haram, which the cover features just 2 decapitated pigs. It's a pretty bold and out there cover, but it's a little edgy, but it's fine. It's fucking it's kind of haunting and creepy, and it fits the vibe of the album. And this is my first time hearing Billy Woods or Elucid, and I listened to this project specifically because The Alchemist produced the whole thing, and I'm a really big fan of his, and I'm familiar with his producing style, so I thought that'd be a good way to get into, as an entry point for Billy Woods. I'd never really heard of Elucid outside of this, to be honest with you. So it was my first time hearing of Elucid, and I knew of Billy Woods, so I was like, you know what, I'll just go into Billy Woods like this. And it's just weird is the word that comes to mind. It's a good weird, but it's something that I definitely had to keep going back to process. It's just unique. It's just the type of instrumentals and beats I would never imagine someone really rapping on, especially with their unique style of rapping. It's a lot more like poetry. Now, rap is poetry. All rap is, but there's something about this type of rap specifically that it's very layered. There's a lot to pick apart than what I'm used to hearing, and I like that. It's very intriguing because it's something that you can't just really put on in the background. It's something that you really have to sit down and focus on and kind of understand. It's just something I remember my first time hearing the first couple tracks, I was like, this is some horrorcore, this is some scary, very haunting type of stuff, and I really liked it. I'm really fascinated by it. And all she was a lot like I'm watching some kind of like I'm listening to some kind of horror thriller album. It's kind of equivalent to watching a horror movie in some ways, I guess. I don't know. It's just man, it's super unique. I like it though. and especially, of course, I like Alchemist's production. There's one track I really like on there, specifically called "Falling Out of the Sky" with Earl Sweatshirt. That song is just wonderful. I mean, God, the fucking beat. That's like Alchemist. He has a lot of incredible beats. That might be like the best I've heard from him. That might be my favorite Alchemist beat. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's at least one of his best. I love Billy Woods versus. That's definitely like the most, I guess, mainstream sound, or the most like if I were to ever like recommend someone, I'm hardly a fan, so I'm not really in the position to recommend anyone yet. But if I were to, I would recommend this song. It's definitely the most. It's a good entry level position because like even a hip hop fan like me, I've been listening to it a lot for years. Even I was just kind of like, whoa, this shit's kind of like, it was a little bit like an adjustment first time hearing this. It's just so different, man, and I really like that. And that's kind of what I want. I want something that's very different and unique. That's kind of the sound I'm going for, anyways. I think like art pop is what a lot of people refer to, like Björk or artists like I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure like Sophie, she was associated with kind of that sound. Like I know Lady Gaga has an album called Art Pop, but the artist that first comes to mind when I say that is Björk, because it's, I don't know, it's God, man, it's some very fascinating stuff. It's just it has like a lot of like pop and mainstream and elements, but it's just very, very just experimental, I suppose. I really want to become Anthony Fantano with the way I can discuss and talk about music. But I'm glad to talk about music in any capacity. I'm good to kind of practice that. But I guess art rap is what I would associate this Billy Woods type of sound that I've been listening to as. It's kind of something you have to kind of hear for yourself to, I guess, to understand what I mean. But like I said, I really like it. And the transitions on that album specifically are really good. Every song transitions into the next, which I really like that. Because it's just like I don't know, it feels more like just like a complete album, It feels more like one piece of work, rather than, again, just like random, freestyles or just random songs that have not much to do with each other. Not that I mind that, but it's cool to see when there's like it kind of flows like one giant song, essentially. It's just like dark, and I almost want to say like depressing, but it doesn't like make me depressed, but it's just such a dark, luminous sound. I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. And just last night, I listened to another Billy Woods project called Hiding Places, which is a collaborative project he did, entirely produced by Kenny Siegel. I'm not familiar with him up until now, but I used to be on hip hop Twitter, and I'd seen that album and the cover like a lot. So I thought that might be a good point to try and get further into his catalog. And I literally just listened to that for the first time last night. I gave it one listen last night and one listen this morning, and I definitely like it. I'm intrigued by it, but again, it's the same thing. Like it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to process. It's just really weird and unique. Not in a bad way at all, but it's God, what are the proper words to describe that? I don't know. I can get more on that on my music channel, but it's I like the instrumental side of it too. Sorry, I'm playing with one hand. I don't know if you could tell for a second. But it's interesting, man. Very interesting. The first song is called SpongeBob. The song doesn't have much to do with SpongeBob. It's just in the chorus. Talking about like SpongeBob and the whole operation's underwater. Oh yeah. Damn. I'm choking. I'm choking hard right now. I thought I knew what I was gonna say about it. I mean, let me give a good look at the project. Take a look at the track list a little bit. Hiding places. Yeah, steak knives, checkpoints. Yeah. I like it though. It's interesting. I think it's for sure an acquired taste. I would like even someone who's still, getting into it. I would love to see someone's reaction, who is like, who maybe hasn't even heard like Griselda, or someone who hardly listens to hip hop. I wonder what they would think if I played like a Billy Woods album. I'm just curious. Cause even for me, it's interesting. But wow, that's music. That's music. Not a ton going on. I wish I at this point have listened to more projects, but I guess to a point recently where I'm just satisfied with the albums I have. I just have my playlist instead of comfort music that I like to go to. I don't know. Sometimes listening to new music, because music's definitely like a big coping mechanism for me, just for anything, right? So sometimes when I'm listening like to new stuff, I just listen what I know just to feel chill, be able to sing and rap along. But there's a ton. There's a ton on my list, both in hip hop and any genre for that matter. That's crazy. I've been into just very chill, just music that makes me relax. Like I have this one playlist that I've carefully curated more than my other playlists, and it's my favorite playlist that I've made. It's just like a lot of 07 and chill music. 07, they're a group I got into roughly last year. I got into them because I knew Sia was that she used to make music with them, and that's how I started off, was just listening to all their songs with Sia. But then I ended up listening to, all their music, and I just fell in love with all of it. So I'm grateful because if Sia hadn't previously been a part of that group, I probably wouldn't have discovered them, because I love all their shit, all their songs, even without her, they've really become one of my favorite just groups. I guess they're a group. Calling them a band doesn't feel right, but I guess technically they might be, because at their core it's just two guys who produce and sometimes give vocal performances, but usually their thing is that they have like a circle of artists they collaborate with. Like early on it was Moses, I think that's how you pronounce it, right? Moses, because it's not like Moses, like Mose, but it's with a Z. But him, Sophie Barker, and see that was like their rotation, and then they kind of switched it up as the group kept putting out music. And man, what I will say is, I mean, even when, of course, like when they stopped working, like with C, I still love, I still love their music for sure, but I really wish they'd make songs together again. I hope that boat isn't long and gone though. It might be. I don't know. C just wants to make pop music now, which is fine. That I mean, she's been making like strictly pop music, I guess, for a while now. And of course, she's good at it. I still like her pop music, but I really wish she would go back to her more indie sound. But I worry that's too late in her career. I hope not. I really fucking hope not, man. Sometimes I just want some of my favorite artists. They're all slipping. They're all just slipping. Eminem, he's rapping too fast now on everything. It's like, sure, it's good, but I just don't want to hear it all the time. Like, I don't want I don't want all these modern hip hop fans who are very against them to be. I don't want people to be shitting on them. It sucks, and I understand why people don't like him nowadays. I definitely get it, but you know what? It really does make me sad. I mean, he's still very talented. I still love, I still like him, but it really it really just not as much as I used to. I mean, like I still listen to him. Like I'm just saying, I've come around more to the criticism he's been getting. And I've always understood it, but I'm just agreeing with it more and more. It's like, man, he could easily put. I mean, I love Music to Be Murdered By. That's honestly a really great album, but of course, it's not on the par. It's not on par with the Marshall Mathers LP and Eminem Show and whatnot. But it's like, I understand the factor of him being. He's 50 years old now. You know, he's made. You know, he most likely. I mean, I feel like it's just like there's just very, very close to no shot that he's gonna surpass his first few albums, and that's fine because he's older. That was him like at his very prime when he hadn't. He's made music and songs about a lot of the shit he's wanted to be able to recapture that like this late in his career, to be able to like make new songs on that level. Of course, that's really tough, and maybe no matter what, he won't be able to reach that level. But he proves that he's easily capable of making a whole album with songs that are very close to that, like Darkness, for example, on Music to Be Murdered By. If he did a whole album with more story-driven style, like it doesn't even have to pertain to his life. Like Relapse, that might be my favorite Eminem. That might be my personal favorite Eminem album. I don't know. I'll be honest. For a while now I've been listening to that more than his first few because I just love the storytelling on that. And obviously he isn't like a serial rapist murderer like he raps about being on Relapse. So it doesn't even have to be true at this point. He could so make an album on that level, and I hope he does. I just chill, just chill with the fast rapping. Just chill with. I do love the corny lines. That's something I've always talked about before. I find it funny, but at this point, I'm a little sick of it, quite frankly. It's like every other bar. At this point, he has to have some kind of like signal for where it's like, oh my god, he said, like when he put out that gospel song with Dr. Dre that came out for the GTA DLC. I really like it, but like every other bar, it was some like me and Dre are like thought we were both in our lab coats like retrievers. Like every other line had to be some kind of like, oh, it's like, okay, enough. I get it. I get what you're doing. I get it. You're very clever. And he is quite, I mean, of course, he's still lyrically insane. I mean, like, a recent highlight, I still think about this one. I love, he can do it every once in a while. Like in Premonition, the intro on Music to Be Murdered By. I like where he goes, oh god, what was the line? The only way you get ahead of me is the letter V. Or wait, what was it? The only way you're ahead of me is alphabetically because I'm coming after you like the letter V. Like, come on. Like, you can sprinkle it in there, but when you overdo it, it's just, it gets to be a little much. Man, I could go on a music rant forever there. I feel like, now we're in. That's about the length I like it. That's just a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I mean, life's going okay. I mentioned, some depression issues. I can be open about that. It's fine. I'm not doing terribly. Man, God, fuck everything, though. Also, at the same time, I fucking hate all of this. Sorry, I wasn't planning on saying that. It just kind of came to me. I fucking really hate everything. I want to kill myself sometimes. I'm sorry, I don't mean that. Sometimes I just say, like, I just say something that, like, so absurd just because, I don't know, just to get that feeling out of me, I guess. Like, I don't know. I promise I'm not suicidal. Just saying something, like, so absurd and, like, dramatic just kind of makes me, like, makes me feel more, like, satisfied in a way. But really, though, I'm okay. I'm going to be. I have great friends, and I have people I can talk to. I'm in therapy right now, you know. I'll be real. So, I truly am. I will be fine. You know, I definitely have been having my days where I'm doing better. You know, in general, I've been doing better compared to the last few months, I'd say, because I have a lot of issues with self guilt, right? Making myself feel guilty about certain things, about not being where I want to be in some areas and whatnot. And I'm doing better with letting go of that. That's where a huge amount of my issues, I'd say, come through, are for myself and me comparing myself and judging myself and being critical. You know, so letting go of that is going to be like a big step, I feel like, and I'm working on it. It all starts with feeling, you know, it all starts with yourself, of course. Looking for a job, that hasn't been great. Admittedly, maybe I've been a little picky in some ways, but I'll be honest, I feel like that's a little fair. I don't want to work a job where I dread going to every day. I don't have to love it. I'm 20 years old. I'm not expecting to get my dream job right out the gate. That's something that you know, even if a dream job, such thing as a dream job exists, right? Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But I know I can get something that I don't hate, you know, something that can give me at least somewhat fulfillment, maybe. You know, I'm not gonna sell for something I hate, you know, just to have a job. And I feel like that's fair. Society, right? Is that fair as a human being to simply have something you don't hate? So yeah, so maybe I'm being a little picky, admittedly, but I'm starting to become more open to things just to get money, because I want to move out. You know, I really do. I don't. There's no future for me in my hometown, and I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. Their hometown just isn't the place really to grow. I mean, it's nice to grow up in, make memories, make your friends, but to live like your adult life and live out your dreams and aspirations, and depending on the city most of the time, that's just not it. This city is not it. It's not it for me. I just want to get a job and save and move out. I have some plans for where I'll go, and I just hope that ends up working out really bad. I'm not gonna say too much until things are certain, but I have a situation I really hope pans out the way I want, or as long as it pans out in some way. That would be really nice. I just want some fulfillment in life. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, if you moving somewhere, it's not going to change anything. You know, I'm not looking for that to change all my problems, but I would like to have a new environment to grow and find myself in. I feel like that would really, because, you know, in therapy, you know, my therapist, she asked a question, you know, a question that should seem simple. She asked, like, who are you? And I was like, that's a very general question to ask. Like what do you mean, who am I? That could mean so many things. But like, I realize I can't really answer that. It's like, I know who I am, but how do I give like a summary of myself? How do I, you know, maybe it's like about your values. But when I think about that, like, what are my values? No, I do have values. I value. I value my family, of course, my friends. I value, you know, my pets. I value this whole YouTube thing that I do as, you know, in my spare time sometimes. You know, there are things I value, but is that what she means, or does that mean like more philosophical things? Like, what does that mean? And I realize it's hard to answer that. And maybe I should be working on being able to answer that. It's like, I know who I am, but I guess, do I really? I suppose she did kind of stump me with that question. She kind of. Who would have thought that the therapist has a point, right? The therapist is right about pointing something out. That's a very interesting question. And I'm not gonna try seriously. I feel like I could answer it or give a rough outline. But I'd have to really sit down and think sometime right now. But yeah, It hasn't been as helpful as I was hoping, but I feel like that kind of falls on me. It's like these past couple of sessions specifically, I haven't had a lot to talk about because, you know, sure, I'm a little depressed, but nothing specifically is troubling me. I, I know what I need to do in order to work on getting out of it, and that's getting a job, getting some money, and, I'm applying, to plenty of jobs. Sure, that isn't going too great, but, I'm going to keep working on it. I'm going to work harder at it. So, I'm in the process, you know? So, I guess right now there aren't a ton of issues. Specifically, I'm just trying to figure shit out, you know? A lot of it's about accepting that I don't know what I'm doing or exactly what I want specifically, and just moving through life and slowly trying to figure that out. But damn, dude, I it's weird. I get this. It's so absurd. I get this sense that I'm like running out of time or something, or that it's too late to do something. When I'm literally only 20. Like that's so crazy young, and it's incredibly normal. Is what everyone keeps telling me, to have these kind of having no clue where I am or what I'm doing or who I am type thoughts at this age, because it still fairly new at a high school where that your our whole my whole life was just structured for me. Like, go to school for this amount of years. You learn this. You do everything this way, and it's true. I never really thought about it like that. We're just like indoctrinated in a way into this specific way of living, and it's really true. It's really not until because you don't have to go to college, right? You can do whatever you want. You have complete freedom over your own life at that point, and just be thrown into that. It's true. I never thought of it like that, and especially that happened right as COVID started. And I'm not putting everything on COVID, but that's definitely an effect on things. That definitely put the world in a different state, 100%. And that's something that none of us could have ever predicted. We haven't had something like this in I guess really since the Spanish flu, right? Something so widespread of a sickness. Goddamn, driving this game sucks sometimes. But yeah, it's a little weird. Part of me wishes I just went to college that year, because I was going to, and then I just got caught up with the whole aspect of staying home from COVID and being like, I don't have to do all, I just, I don't know. But maybe it's a good thing. It's still something I'm not 100% against, At this point, a lot of people recommend not going to college just because of like the debt it puts you in, and a lot of people's degrees don't end up being very useful, which is weird. But for some people it works wonderfully, right? And some people really recommend it. So it's hit or miss. But all I know is that if you're not completely sure what you want to do, so yeah, unless you're sure, I guess it's just best to stay away for now. But I need to figure that out, because if I'm gonna do it, I have to do it now, because I'm gonna be 21 in less than a month, and if I end up having to start college, then I'd be like a freshman at 21, and that would just be weird. I don't know. Society's a weird thing. I know societal norms shouldn't always give in to that, right? What do I know? I'm not gonna think about this too much. I'm gonna have a crisis on air. I already pretty much am, but alas, I'm out here. I'm gonna get a job very soon. I'm gonna stack and make so much bread, and I'm gonna move out. Life will unfold, and by God, will I find my purpose or my passion, whatever. Regardless, I'll get to the bottom of it. I have to. Oops, sorry. I have to, you know. Well, that's a good place to end it. Nice to get a little reel there at the end. Well, I'll leave it there. I think my mic just cut out for a second. Technical issues, as always. But thank you all very much for watching Mikoncast episode 43. We out.